Three, two. All right, welcome back for another mini episode. What I think, as Mandy with the lovely jazz hands, what I
Jazz
think we should
hands.
talk about is there's this question that I'm going through in terms of this branding, rebranding. So I wanted to ask you the question, see what your answer would be, and then tell you kind of my answer and get your thoughts because I trust your opinion like 110%, and I love the way you think. So I want to ask you the question. Tell me what you
Okay.
think, and we'll go from there. So
Okay.
it's what's the one word problem that you solve when you're speaking or you're coaching people? Like, what's your one word problem that you solve? So that's the question. The word has to be negative, and
Ooh.
yes, and you go from there. So what I came up with for me
Yeah.
was despair, because when you
Oh.
think about when people are burned out or their creativity, they just lost the ability to use their creativity. They have a sense of despair. Also, coming from where I came from, where I used to work for, as you did, we're very much alike. Used to work in the corporate space and hospitality. You hit a certain kind of glass ceiling. You're like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to get through it. You have a sense of despair. Whereas I could
Mm.
show people how I navigated around that by using creativity to flip it to a positive. So that's my word. What do you think about that word?
Ooh. Okay, so I have to parse this out for a second. First of all, by the way, hi everybody. Thank you for joining our mini. And I like when you pose a question that I don't know what you're going to ask, and I like to know what you're struggling with and what you're working through. So this is and I am sure that people that are listening to this might be struggling with the same thing. Like, what problem do I solve for customers? What problem should I solve for customers? Right? Because I think a lot of times we think we're solving one problem, but our zone of genius is actually in solving another problem. And it takes a customer to tell us what that is. Right. So, first of all, I don't know if I like the word despair. Not that like I don't know if a lot of people know what it means. I know what it means, but like when I think of despair, I go straight to like a soap opera or I go straight to like Alexis did it. I go somewhere different. I don't know if I go to a place of creativity solving or I don't know if I go to a place of business. So like when I hear what problem do you solve? And it has to be negative. I think boredom because, like, as a DJ, there an event is not as good of an event if people are bored, right? And as a professor, so many professors are so boring, but your creativity really brings interest to that. I almost wonder if it's like disinterest, boredom, apathy. I think you solve all those things, right? Especially with your speaking and your interactive games and your live streaming knowledge. So I don't know if I would use despair.
So you brought up a word for my backup word was going to be miseducation. That was another word, like miseducation.
Ooh.
Tribute to Lauryn Hill. You mentioned soap
Yeah.
operas. You're having flashbacks to All My Children with Erica Kane. So, anyways, I'll say that.
And our previous guest he was a star of All My Children, right?
Yes,
Anthony.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. That's
yeah.
right. Exactly. But I do like apathy because that's an interesting one. Tell me, when you think of apathy, that's a really good one, actually. Like, what I think of someone who's like just given up, apathetic, no hope, just kind of ch punching the clock at 9, punching the clock at 5:30, doing the same thing every day. What they say? Some people die at age 25 but don't get buried until they're 65. That's what I think about with that.
Ooh, I've never heard that before. I think apathy, yeah, like when I think of apathy, I think of someone that just doesn't care, and I don't think it's a I don't care because I'm a bad person or I don't care because I don't have that wiring. I think it's I'm just kind of burnt out. I don't care, right? So, and I think we live in a world right now where a lot of people are really burned out. And if you were to solve a problem for burnout through what you do, I think that's magical. all. I don't know. That's just what I
That's good.
think. What do you yeah.
I like that. And you make some good points about despair because it could be a little bit too dramatic or like cinematic, so to speak, or whatever. What about what about for you? When you think about the one word problem that you solve, what comes to mind?
That's an interesting question. When you first posed it at the beginning, I instantly said sales, and then you said the word had to be negative. And so I have to think about that. I mean, do you have one that you think of for me or no?
Oh, like for me, I would think about someone who just like they don't know how to follow up. They don't know how to correspond properly. They don't know how to like close the deal, ask for the business, like, be consistent with their CRM. Like
Yeah.
they just don't know the sales basics. And through the sales tales, you can learn it, but you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And the other thing too is I think sometimes, and I don't know how to put this into one word, a one negative word to solve. I think sometimes people think they know everything there is to know about sales, and they're like, sales training is for newbies or training is for juniors. But because you run a business, and I know I run a business, like I am constantly seeking education, even on things I'm an expert in, even on sales, because I need to be rejuvenated and reinvigorated. And so I think I have to think about what that one word is. So anybody that's listening or watching, if you have a word for me, a one negative word of what I solve, let me know. Just DM us or pop it in the comments because I mean I think I bring a lot of joy to sales, and I think I bring a lot of creativity and cleverness to sales, but I don't know what that negative word would be. So is it could be back to boredom. It could be back to apathy. It could be I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, thinking we'll have to think about your word, but like that's interesting to see. And then I'm trying to think about kind of the part two for this is like then you talk about like when you look at your demographics, who is like what's your sweet spot for the people you speak to or the people that hire you for coaching?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Um, I it depends on who's hiring me. It depends on what. So, for example, when I do hotel sales coaching, it's normally I would say a 60-40 split between women, more women than men. And it's normally an age range between like 28 to 50, because most hotel salespeople, that's their DNA. But when it's a manufacturing company that hires me, it is majority men, and that age range is like 35 to 50. If it's a tech company that hires me, it's mid 20s to mid 30s, and it can be a range of 50-50 men to women. So, but I do tailor my speeches. I curate that to the demographic. I don't know if you noticed when I sent a survey out today for my upcoming Sales Tales Live, I ask specific questions because even though I already have the content baked, I still like to understand like what are those top things troubling you right now so I can make it as custom and as creative as possible. Um, what about you? What's your demographic of the people that you speak to or you
Well,
do DJing for?
right. Well, DJing, it could be various, but most of that corporate events, kind of tech companies, well, really any kind of company, but mostly corporate events. For people that I might speak to or coaching, what I found is that I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it. This is all the things I'm learning during this branding thing, which has been pretty brilliant. And it's funny that Erin King, our guest from last week, she mentioned the exact brand builders program that I was going through. And
Yeah.
it says you are uniquely positioned to help the people who were once what you were. So if you think about that, then like, hospitality executive that got to a nice kind of regional VP level and then got stuck or whatever. So for me, that could be like, for your primary market would be like hospitality executives in the meetings and tours event who are ages like 28 to 43, maybe people of color who are just struggling with navigating how to get through the system so they can still get through the glass ceiling and thrive. That's the one
Mm.
that's what's surfacing right now.
Hmm. Did you feel
And
like you were struggling through the system? Like, did you feel like your race, your color, your gender, your age, do you feel like any of that made you struggle through the system at all?
yeah, I would say, yeah, there are different times in there. Absolutely.
Wow. God, that's crazy to me.
Yeah,
That's crazy to
yeah,
me. Yeah. Do you have any
yeah.
stories like that something specific that happened?
Ooh,
You don't have to name
that's a good
names. You don't have to
question.
name names.
No
Don't get anybody in
names,
trouble,
no
mommy.
names, names.
Mhm.
They don't need no names.
Mm.
Funny or messed up. Uh, I'm trying to think. Just, I guess, a former boss maybe didn't understand like my perspective or my approach to maybe working with the team and using a
Mm.
lot of online tools. And maybe I was kind of young in the job, so they kind of just dismissed my experience and they dismissed it, saying I was probably elevated to certain positions because of my background instead of my knowledge. That's one that comes to
Mm.
mind there. Yeah.
Jeez, that's so stupid. I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that it
Yeah.
happened, but I'm glad that you can tell the story. You can tell the story knowledgeably and comfortably now. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So
Mhm.
we'll have to come back to that one for more stories. I have to think and write some down that are good because after a while you forget them because you have new challenges. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
So I
think we
think,
should have a whole
fo-
session on it, a whole mini on it,
yeah.
discrimination. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Write that down. Let me write that down. Okay. Discrimination. Just okay. So I think maybe for the next mini we'll follow up. I'll see what else I learn as I'm going through this activity because now I'm to the part where we write about our expert bio. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to change my bio around to highlight certain things. So we'll follow up with that. But this one word, that's like the really important thing. So I think I have another like big meeting coming up next Monday. So we'll
Mhm.
see what kind of bubbles up from there.
I love that you're doing this, Amani. Do you feel like you're getting a lot out of it?
Yeah, right away. Yeah. So I'm excited to see the results because I'm watching people that are ahead of me have some really good results. That's very encouraging.
Oh, cool. Oh gosh, that's gotta be so inspiring too.
Yes, yes. It's like, let's go. So that's good.
That's
All
awesome.
right, so this is it for our mini. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast and the live stream. Well, podcast really wherever you watch it, and tune in next Wednesday for our next mini. And until
Yeah.
then, send us your ideas, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Have a great day.